Alright, injecting a bit of voiceover into this podcast on accounting. I was silly and forgot. So as right here as Link, I just introduced Link
Good
and
morning.
Lateralus.
Hello, hello.
Alright, and here actually I begin with asking about their thoughts on mid-range mage, on the meta, and currently how the latter, what they're seeing. I discussed I was able to climb with a variety of decks, including Monk, Scout, and Control Mage. I then passed the baton over to Link to ask as you will now hear him speak, and then I pass it over to Lateralus.
Explosion of mid-range mage. So many mid-range mages. So many. Snaxy Man's made it too popular. So theoretically diverse. I'll give it that. The game is still remarkably diverse, but I've versed a lot of mages. Some archers too. It is a fun deck to verse though, and that's what's important.
Pretty much mostly versus mage, the control in the mid-range, and the mid-range archers. A lot of people were trying out the Protector of the Monk in various mid-range monk decks and in the control monk shell. So those are probably the three most common decks I've been seeing as well.
Here I just kind of mentioned good old Control Mage, and we all agree that it's
Always will be.
We hope.
Innovation being available in this game is great. Then I proceed to ask Link and Lateralus their thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it is crazy how much innovation you can do after nearly a year now of not a whole lot of changes to a card pool, and like on a daily basis it's still decks tweaking, like a metagame of a dozen plus decks and having to tweak every single day to adjust to what people are playing and what people come up with, and then entire new archetypes breaking out. Like every single class can play multiple different decks. So yeah, crazy diverse.
Yeah, I think that the meta is obviously really diverse, and you can see shifts in the meta every couple of days or so. I think right now it is influenced by the popular streamers a little bit based on what they are playing, like Link himself. You can see like Link or CDH play or Snaxy Man play something, and a lot of people will pick that up and can kind of shift and influence the meta. I think though that once there's a more competitive scene, that some of the diversity will fall off, because a lot of the decks right now you can get to high legend with, but I think when there's actual like a competitive scene to it, that some of those decks are going to start falling off, and there will be a more narrow meta. But I still think that there'll be, a handful of decks that can get you to the top.
Here I fix my voice issues as we discuss further into the meta and state of the game. So from here on out, just enjoy my smooth voice along with the others.
You got to remember though, more incentives do provide more competition, more incentives provides more incentive to play meta decks, to start eliminating some of the weaker decks from the meta. But it also provides more incentive to innovate. There is a lot of room still, as we find with things like what mid-range mage has done, there's still a lot of room for high-level players to find just crazy strong decks that aren't being played. And once you add more incentive, you find more and more of those. So I'm not sure we do shrink by that much if we get a larger player base or a more competitive scene.
Thanks for the chat for letting me know my mic was not working, but I think it should be okay now. So chat, let me know that. But glad you hear the other two at least. That's the important thing. So anyway, all right. So I think we've covered the ladder, the meta, current game. One more thing, I guess Rumble. How do you guys feel about the Rumble Gauntlet and outlooks on future gauntlets. What kind of gauntlets would you like to see? I kind of want to see in prizes. I'll start off with prize wise. I'd like to see card backs are hard because you never actually see your deck or the cards. I guess maybe a gauntlet themed board for that month. If every month had a different gauntlet, maybe like a prize gauntlet, or if you got 9 wins, you got a special sort of board that month that could be anything. Could be just an artwork of a living board or anything really, or just any memes or giant or card art or existing or new card art. And in regards to Rumble Arena, enjoyed it. I mean, getting a lot of free dust was pretty sweet, and for newer players getting into it, if they were able to get build collections a little quicker. Your thoughts, Link?
So back when I used to play a game called Soulforge, they had a major tournament series, and the prize for winning it is the winner in the top 4, I think, would get a special golden premium version of whatever the prize card was that they picked. It was called the Golden Gauntlet. So they'd pick cards with gauntlets, armored figures, and then they'd basically put this golden sheen effect on the gauntlets, and they'd give out those premium cards to just these top 4. And so myself and my teammates, it was really nice, like in the community and things. Forever and a day on ladder, wherever I wanted to play them, I'd have these cards with special golden gauntlets that other people didn't have. And I love that sort of exclusive prizes. Even if it's just cosmetic, it is, I don't know, it's a nice feeling. It's a nice thing to strive for.
Absolutely.
I'd love to see that come through Gauntlet in Elder Scrolls, like just simple cosmetic prizes. They don't need to cost Direwolf too much to make or anything, but it can go a long way.
What you're saying? Almost like an alternate card art kind of deal?
Yeah.
What would you Lateralus? What would you like to see?
I agree with alternate card arts would be pretty cool. We've only had a handful of them so far, but you gotta give us a freaking new playmat, man. And I don't know if that comes through Gauntlet or not. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but something's got to change there. And I think everyone just wants a leaderboard that means something.
I do. You like the 4 candles and the browns. These are browns. It's a very relaxing leaderboard to look at.
I don't know how those candles haven't burned out yet.
Actually, a player known as PDMD he got a glitch that showed a leaderboard, so it looks like they're somewhere in the code are working on that. So that's helpful. Now apparently I sound like I'm super far away. Just can't win. Anyway. So,
there are always technical difficulties. Universal rule of these things.
Yeah, pretty much. At least you can somewhat hear me. I think I can always, in the editing, I can mess around with trying to boost the sound with myself.
At least we showed up.
Exactly. At least we're on time. That's the key, man. We're doing it. All right, but moving on. All right, I think we covered. All right, so in the card game market, there seems to be quite a few games out there now. I think Elder Scrolls Legends is positioned. Oh, Hearthstone's kind of always going to be big on accounting a lot of factors. There's the first one, a lot of sunken costs people are there, like they played for so long. Gwent having The Witcher and CD Projekt Red really not dropping a beat with promoting that game. How do you feel? And there's Eternal in area, but I believe personally that this could be a strong number 3, even as Gwent's pretty big. It seems to be growing, and of course, Hearthstone's just never gonna die. Do you think Elder Scrolls Legends can take that 3 spot, even from Shadowverse? What do you think, Link?
From Shadowverse, yeah, absolutely, especially in the Western world. I think we can surpass Gwent fairly easily too. Like Gwent, we were a very similar size to Gwent for a very long time, and then CD Projekt Red announced one big tournament. Single big tournament, and their player base increased 100-fold. And I think if Bethesda does something similar, Like, as soon as there's that dream, this is what a lot of people used to chase in Magic cards too. As soon as there's that dream, I can make a living playing card games. That attracts a lot of people, and it attracts a lot of your content creators too, who in turn bring people. So I think we can easily get the number 2 spot.
I think we can get number 2. All right, I like the confidence. I agree, especially with Bethesda backing support way bigger than CD Projekt.
And just think, I know the Steam release has been popular, and like the launcher had its problems. People didn't like it much. But imagine if Elder Scrolls 6 was only released on the launcher. What that would have done for our game. If you had to download the Bethesda launcher to get Elder Scrolls 6, that would have been some good exposure. I'm really curious what would have happened.
I would have to say they had the launcher being pretty solid. Yeah, that would have been a very nice push. All right, Lateralus, your thoughts on our position in the potential future of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think with what Bethesda's been doing recently and will more than likely do tonight, it shows that they're going to make a push in the market. And I think that the longevity of this game I think this game can outlast Gwent. I haven't played Gwent a ton, but I have played it some. And it does seem, and getting feedback from other players, that long term, it seems like that it's just going to become pretty repetitive. Where this game, like, I don't know, it doesn't really get old as much. Like, Link has played a ton for months now, and I mean, he's still streaming it over Gwent primarily, right? And maybe he can touch on that a little bit more. But, and like Link said, you know, announcing one tournament can do wonders. So, I mean, I think that is something that is going to happen in the very near future. And I think once it does, we won't really have, people won't be so worried anymore. And this discussion will kind of die down on Gwent, or Legends will never catch Gwent, when I think it will happen sooner than people think.
I agree. I think one of the things that actually hurts Gwent that this game has is variance. The lack of variance is a quick appeal, but I think that appeal will fade off, as in there's a healthy amount of it. As in, it kind of, like, I think Elder Scrolls Legend has a pretty healthy amount of variance. There are some RNG effects, but that makes the game not the same. But with Gwent, I often find myself making the same moves, doing the same thing quite often. Not too much variation on what to do. A cool move, but more traditional card game like Elder Scrolls Legends, I think, with a healthy amount of variance, will push that. And,
yeah, I think this game's just way more appealing to watch from a spectator point of view, personally. Like I can actually enjoy playing Gwent, but watching it, I have a really hard time watching it. Whereas this game, it's really fun to watch for me.
True. I mean, always, especially, I just want to say, actually, this quick thought. They're always updating the animations. I should probably read the notes. But somebody just played Slaughterfish on me earlier today, and new animation. I'm not sure if you have seen the fish, the car's kind of rising out of the water. That was a cool.
All right, I haven't seen that one.
It was like a splash. It was like they rose up the water. I was like, that's makes me want to play the car again.
I gotta play some Slaughterfish now. All right.
Action Assassin, it is. All right.
I honestly think that probably, like, most of the premium versions are placeholder art. I really do. I don't think, like, there's so many that just have like a little glint shine on it, and there's no way that they actually plan to keep it that way.
Yeah, I can see that, absolutely. And they have gone and updated a lot of premium arts in the past, like, right? Each patch, we've added a couple new premium arts, like updated a few. We got the big Odoving one at one point.
Oh, true. The premium one looks beautiful. But one thing I think, I mean, I compare the games I play. I plan to play a lot of these card games, and I'd say the strong things people don't talk about enough is the artwork and the themes going into the games. I think the how do I put this? The experience of playing the game and the voice acting, artwork, the effects coming together really add to that. And I think that's one of Elder Scrolls Legends' biggest strong points. Like when a new player plays and plays something like Moment of Clarity or something, seeing the 3 cards you're choosing hovering in the board, or Slaughterfish, like we just talked about, rising a little rising from the water effect. And it's great. And the voice acting is so good. Voice acting doesn't get enough appreciation, I think, in games. But in comparison to, like, I play Eternal, they recently added voice acting, and I will say it felt a bit weak. It wasn't like the heart. I mean, when Odahviing speaks, it sounds like this dragon just. I mean, the effect of him slamming on the board, fire blasting everything, him casting his thumb, and just wiping the board, plus his voice sounds strong.
Yeah.
It's like Eternal. I play a card, it's supposed to be this big, bad, sorcerer. They're like, hey guys. And it's like, it takes away from the effect. Here's my win condition. I just slammed on the ground, and it just, thematically, it didn't really. The effect may be pleasing, but the artwork and the voice acting really can just kind of take you out. And I never really thought about that until I started comparing them and seeing voice acting and just themes. I think themes are beautiful on the Elder Scrolls Legend. They have all the games. I think what helps Gwent out is maybe the little like video, the premiums. But I think thematically, I give it to Elder Scrolls Legend. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my stream will know. I've spent a lot of time trying to make Cicero work, and every time I play Cicero without fail, I can't help like with giggling and just sing along with the "Is there singing in the void?" I can't help myself. It's such a good line.
We all know the best voice line is a trebuchet attacking face.
I've never heard that one.
Does it actually say something?
I missed last night then. No, it's just like a creaking like sound of the trebuchet moving. I played it on Gauntlet last night, and I did it a few times. A couple of lethals with it. It's so good.
I think, speaking of which, I think who was it? Who was that 2-mana 0/1 Spy Master? But remember Spy Master? I remember the first time equipping him with an item and him attacking, going surprise. Really, I had a good chuckle on that one. And little things like that, sneaking that in, just add to the game. All right. I think we kind of covered state of the game pretty well. Looks like it's pretty well. We agree. So we agree unanimously that it's pretty healthy, and then one big tournament announcement with Bethesda backing can go really far. So,
yep.
E3, let's get into it. Some theory crafting, man. What do you expect to see and hope to see? I'll pass this off to Link. Actually, let me switch it up. I've been going to Link. Let me we're playing a football game. I want to cycle the team out. So let me pass to Lateralus this time.
So expect to see. I think it's obvious that the expansion will be announced tonight. I'm pretty sure, I think everyone knows that it's going to be a Skyrim-based expansion, which, in my opinion, is perfect for marketing. I mean, Skyrim, I know as of last year, at the end of last year, it sold over 30 million copies in the past, 5 years, 6 years. So, I mean, it's their most popular game, and I think they can just do a lot with the marketing to bring new players in. So I think that's really well timed. I kind of expect also a mobile date to actually be announced, a hard date, not just summer. That could be 2 months away, that could be tomorrow. But I expect a date to be announced for that. What I would hope to see, and I kind of half expect it too, but I think it's probably more of a hope, is announcing an actual tournament. Not the 5K thing at QuakeCon or whatever, but its own standalone tournament with at least some kind of decent prize pool, I don't know, 20,000, 30,000 at least. something.
Yeah, I see it. That's what we're hoping for. And what about you, Turquoise? What are you expecting?
I'm expecting more info on this whole Twitch drops thing they've brought up. I know we got a little article of Twitch drops. This is what it is. This is when we're getting it, but like things on how exactly it's going to work, what they're going to do with it, like how much cross promotion it can do, because like they mentioned it's for Elder Scrolls Legends at the moment, but they hinted at we're going to expand this across Bethesda games. We're going to make this like a big part of just everything Bethesda does. I think they're going to give us more information about that, and I'd like to see just how far they push it, how far they can go with Twitch drops. Can they make this just the new standard of Twitch? Just always streamers, you can always come to streamers and receive Bethesda goods, and it doesn't have to be like a booster pack or something like that. They can expand things out if they like and make it really rare, like a lottery style, but maybe you can get a free copy of Prey or something in your Twitch drops, like for one in, I don't know, like 100,000 or something. You make it a lottery or something if it's valuable. But they can do stuff like that, and I'm really curious how far they're planning to go, and I think we'll get more details. Because I can tell you now, Twitch drops have been insanely helpful for, just the announcement of it have been insanely helpful for all the streamers so far.
Oh yeah, this freaking Steam at least. That really res the game, I'd say. Like, we're walking the CBH's stream. I believe unhosted he was at 350 at one point. So looking pretty good there. I'm assuming the long-awaited announcement there, of course, for Skyrim expansion and all that entails as well. You know, that's a good point. I kind of completely blanked on Twitch drops. I'm mentioning that. I am looking forward to seeing how far they would push that as well. I think that's amazing. That's like an amazing partnership, not just for Legends, but for all their games in general. You know, I just getting stuff for a game by just watching. Like, you know, you get a code for Elder Hero Legends while watching Prey. Able to like then that adds people and vice versa. You know, like you said, you get the Prey and play it. I just think, yeah, that's a pretty legit thing. Regarding expansion wise though, a lot of kind of circling around. There was a Reddit post. I was trying to dig it up, couldn't seem to find it, regarding some mechanics. But speaking of mechanics, what kind of mechanics you'd like to see? Personally, one mechanic I'd really like to see. Well, they already done it. Rune interaction. Dark Guardian, for instance, has break a rune, draw a card. More of that is what I'm hoping for. All around the colors. Maybe every color has its own kind of flavor of rune interaction. Maybe a legendary that jams a rune. One of course a one of. But that's the big mechanic I'm curious about. You're not just prophecy. Interaction would be more accurate. And so prophecies. Your opponent procs a prophecy, or you proc a prophecy. Getting rewarded, or you maybe even be able to hits. It does damage to your opponent when you activate a prophecy. Mechanics like that. And your thoughts, Lateralus?
I definitely would like to see Blood Dragon's mechanic passed on and maybe keyworded to fly or something of the sort, I'm guessing. I think that would be really cool. I do agree more interaction with runes and prophecies would be good. I would like to see some kind of deck manipulation, honestly. I guess I come from Magic and there's just not really any deck manipulation, like messing with cards on the top of your library or things like that. The most that you have is kind of like the camel, where you can like look at the top 3 and pick one, things like that. And some more kind of reanimator stuff. Defiler kind of gave us a sneak peek on that, but Raise Dead obviously, but that's about it as far as reanimation goes. So I think they can really expand on archetypes, adding in some new mechanics or just more cards that interact with graveyard and libraries.
And Link, your thoughts, hopes.
So going back to Cicero real quick, I'd like to see not necessarily the ability to attack your own creatures cards, but things like Cicero that really feed off of your own creatures. It's like if you put like an Imperial Grunt in a lane or something, and we have Soul Split, we have Cruel Fire Bloom, they're generally all blue. I don't really care about like all these blue actions. I'd like to see that expanded a lot more. Cicero's ability to attack your own guys, to draw cards. I want a mechanic in the expansion where you sort of just feed off of your own creatures somehow. They draw power. Guys that want you to sacrifice your own creatures to be really good. Things like that.
Like different kind of necromancer that like sacrifice a creature, gain stats from it.
I'm hoping that it'd strengthen the spell sword identity too, because it's like we can identify what each race does, each of their mechanics, right? And spell swords, Imperial's mechanic is supposed to be all these tokens, and I feel like that doesn't come through that well in game. So I'd like to see like yellow making tokens, and then like purple undead stuff feeding on the yellow tokens. I'd like to see more of that archetype pushed.
Hold on,
Another thing.
Questioning the sound again, but continue speaking. I'm sorry.
Oh, by the way, I posted that Reddit post you're looking for in link or in Discord. Another thing I'd like to see personally is more proactive one drops. I feel like there's not very many right now. I think there's what Crown Quartermaster and Relentless Raider that are like playable proactive one drops. I mean, I guess you can count Ungolem kind of, but I think it might help the, you know, with the ring and the mirror matches and stuff. It's just people that blank turn. People always typically blank turn 1 unless they have a ring, and then if they miss turn 2, they're just like a lot of times 2 cards behind. But I think having more one drops that are playable would be really nice.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll do a quick adjustment on my mic there. While I'm doing that, would you be interested in seeing more cards similar to the allies? Well, in regards that cards that encourage building a deck in a certain way. Personally, I'd like to see if you have maybe something that says you have your next card is a beast, or I should say animal. If you draw this, let's see, animal and effect proxy from there, then that promotes you to build your deck in a certain way. For or against that, I'll leave that at Lateralus for now.
I think that I enjoy the RNG of the allies because I mean it's influenced by how you build your deck as opposed to something like Brutal Ashlander or Royal Sage that are just, I don't know, you just hope they do well or you hope they don't do well. The allies I've always really enjoyed playing with, so I would definitely be happy to see that kind of RNG input into the game.
Exactly. Okay, and Link, your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I'm not as big a fan of the allies style where your card either works or it doesn't work. I like it to scale more. I'd love to see Gloomwraith style. If you want to influence deck building like through tribal things, for those that don't know Gloomwraith, because it's a really obscure card, but it scales, it gets bigger for each purple creature you have. And I'd like to, there's Hero of Anvil, for example. He gets cheaper for each creature you've played this turn, so it encourages you to spit out a lot of tokens in one turn. Cards like that, that sort of scale with building your deck in a certain way, encouraging those sorts of mechanics, rather than, you know, the on or off of is your top card correct or is your top card wrong.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Would you be interested in things that's restrictive cards? Like, again, playing a lot of card games. One thing I played in Hex, certain cards, there are cards that won't allow you to put them in your deck unless you end up having a certain amount of this type of card. So an orc that may be a little stronger head of the curve, however, you can't have it unless you have 10, 15 or more orcs. Your thoughts on this, Lateralus? Something like that.
Something like that could be interesting. I haven't really thought about a mechanic like that or a restriction like that. But I can't see it negatively impacting the game. It would just encourage more tribal themes, I guess.
And Link, your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure it's entirely necessary. I don't know. I always talk about elegance in design, and I think I don't think you need to start introducing like actual deck building, the collection screen as a mechanic for the game. I think I'd rather see it a little or executed a little more cleanly in game. Things like you, even if it's just you can put it in your deck, but you know you must have at least 2 walks in your hand in order to play this card. Things like that from your hand. That sort of restriction rather than involving the collection screen.
Okay, that's what you're saying. Like that.
I'd like to see more hate bear type cards coming from Magic. Cards like Witherhane Cultist that negatively impact what your opponent's doing, or Garnag. I like those kind of cards, and I'd like to see more of them spread out through other colors.
I like that. Okay, apparently my voice is awesome as always. Now, thank you, chats. But alright, cool. Enjoying hearing that. So let me just see.
One other thing I wouldn't mind seeing is like maybe an introduction to like a new mechanic or type of action. And I posted that in the Reddit post a few days ago. I wouldn't mind seeing like a Thume type action spell that is, you know, 3 parts and gets progressively stronger as you use the first part, and then the second part does a little bit more, and then the third part does a little bit more. I think that'd be really interesting to see.
If they're introducing that anywhere, it'll be in a Skyrim expansion.
Exactly.
That'd be perfect.
I'm really hoping to see that.
Such rich. That's the thing about rich world games. Such rich lore. They have a lot of mechanics based off of that. I've heard that Thume suggestion before. I like it because sometimes it can be really strong if you get all 3, but if you just get 1, it's kind of an okay card. I think that'd be pretty. I was debating if hand interaction, as in like interacting with your opponent's hand, would be healthy for the game. This kind of game, maybe a card that causes your opponent to discard. But I wasn't sure if it fits in this kind of style of game, counting the mana system and everything.
So, in my opinion, I think it works in Magic so well because you start with 7 cards. In a game like this, where you start with, like, what, 3? Well, I guess you technically draw a card, so 4. That could be pretty devastating mechanic. I don't know that it could be... I mean, I guess it could be balanced right to where it's not as oppressing, but I think in general they probably will stay away from discard effects, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think it's as works as well in Magic as it's often implied either. Like, Thoughtseize is like, look at your opponent's hand and take a card out of it. Is one of the most hated cards in all of Magic's history. And every single time it's in a format, like, it really oppresses that format. The format warps around it really hard. So I'm not sure it is as healthy for Magic as people say. And even if it's not like the same correlation to this game, which it's probably worse in this game, as Lateralus mentioned, I still don't rather not see it here.
Yeah, I can agree. Thoughtseize is pretty freaking powerful. There's other things that are more balanced, like Inquisition of Kozilek, that are still really good, but it's a lot less oppressive.
Well, the final mechanic I was looking into, because they already have it, Transformation. Little Girl is currently the only card that has that, but with such a deep lore of vampires and wolves, and in between, I guess they can always just make things up because the legends, and as the entire encompasses the entire universe, they'd be allowed to kind of play with it. But Transformation seems a great mechanic, but I'd like trigger effects. So how do I put this? So instead of just surviving a turn, if you do something, like you maybe just break a room that transforms, if res a creature from the graveyard transforms, something that triggers like that was probably. I think that's kind of fun. It's almost like a little mini quest. Like you have this card, and it's okay, but by doing certain effect that your deck's probably already geared towards anyway, actually getting a stronger card. Thoughts on that?
That's pretty cool.
So Link thinks that's pretty cool. Sweet. All right, so we got your thoughts on that. What you like?
Those kind of mechanics, I think, are usually fine. I wouldn't be opposed to them, really. I have always enjoyed those kind of mechanics personally.
So somebody made the Hearthstone quest joke. Funny, but no, not quite that good.
You can make it different to the Hearthstone quest, though. The Hearthstone quests encourage you to play out your curve in a certain way. If you make this like a 5-mana card with 1 trigger, you can create a lot of different game plans around that. I think there's a lot of design space there. That sounds really cool.
All right.
I would like to see more interaction with supports in general too.
So
Like a few cards that actually interact with supports. So I think they can really expand on that. I'm sure that's just going to happen as the card pools get bigger. So, but it'd be nice to have some new support interaction or synergies in the upcoming expansion.
And do you have any theory crafted synergies you'd like to see with supports?
Did we lose him? I didn't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have any like?
We lost him.
Oh, holy Christ! Can you not hear me anymore?
You're
No,
good.
We got you.
Okay. Do you have any examples of what kind of interactions you'd like to see with supports?
I mean, I haven't thought too much into it, but I think there's 2, 3 cards that can destroy a support at the moment. A purple, a red, and a neutral. And there's no cards that could, say, protect or make your supports indestructible. It makes a lot of supports. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of cool supports in the game, but I feel like a lot of them can't be used very well. I'm not really sure how you would fix it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure how they could make it work, but I'd just like to see them try, I guess.
Yeah. So almost like Tower Alchemist, maybe Studios Alchemist protects your supports from destroyed this way. Hrothgar Forge can crush by purple or red decks. I can see what you're saying there. But let's see. We're at 15 minutes, but I think we've kind of covered. We went kind of state of the game, E3 predictions and hopes. Was there anything else you wanted to link over? Any mechanics or any kind of just general thoughts?
I think that also, while they do announce the expansion tonight, we really should hope that it's not like a month away. CVH kind of has talked about this, and I 100% agree. I think it would be really bad if they push the marketing really hard now, which I think it's going to be starting, and they announce that another expansion within the next few weeks or something like that, and that could be really hard for new players to get into the game. They definitely need at least a couple of months to catch up with the card pool, I think. So hopefully they don't try to rush it out. I don't think they will. I think we could probably expect some kind of August, September release, which would be perfect in my opinion.
Okay, good point. I think most people want it as quick as possible, but them staggering it definitely makes sense to me. And your thoughts, Link? Anything else you'd like to say, or any mechanics you'd like to?
I'm always very, very impressed with how Direwolf specifically Like, I know it's Bethesda's game, but Direwolf, I'm very impressed with how they design their card games in Elder Scrolls. There's a lot of very, very clever design in Elder Scrolls that's, I feel, is rather hidden. But I really hope that the developers of Direwolf can like, keep that sort of faith in themselves, that they have done a really good job and that they will keep doing a really good job. Because like people like me can get really critical at times. You know, that's how come this isn't fixed or whatnot. X cards need nerfs. But realistically, they've done a much, much better job than me or anyone I know can do. And a lot of times I've looked at things, said this needs to be fixed. And then like 2 months later, I've looked back at it and thought, wow, I'm really glad they didn't listen to me.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, I think that they are also very proactive in fixing the mistakes. You know, they have not been afraid to nerf or even buff cards, which is really nice. And I mean, I think that I do like that they don't just listen to the general complaints. Like Atromancer, for example, like a couple months ago, everyone was complaining about it. It was dominating the meta. They wanted it nerfed, and now you look at it, I mean, half the control decks for Mage aren't even using it anymore. It's used more as like a finisher in more mid-range decks now too. So I mean, I think Merrick has kind of fallen out of the meta a lot. So you see a lot less of it now than you did a month or two ago, and there was no changes. So it's just kind of the meta evolving. So I do appreciate that they don't pull the trigger really fast either on cards.
I agree with that. I think Direwolf is doing a pretty excellent job all around with the design of the game. And really, I also enjoy they've done anti-fun kind of buffs and nerfs. The Reeve buff was really nice. A lot of people were scared to play him because the execute giving that one extra, kind of hearing the community out and making it much more of a fun card, therefore making it a much more strong card. As well as a nerf to Spell Sword with Divine Forever, showing that they care about lower levels experience, and and as well as the Khajiit nerf, the movements, really kind of focusing on the fun mechanic as well as the competitive scene. I think is just a great and solid way to show the community care, and it's been all around improvement for the game. I noticed they kind of chomped down on the rune skipping even in recent buff, wanting to add more interactivity. It looked like Raiders were nerfed because they're a bit. Looks like they're a bit worried about that lack of interaction, I suppose. So it definitely shows that they're interested in the all-around experience, aside from the competitive experience, but also the kind of just the ladder people who just want the ladder have some fun experience.
Yeah, I think it's often underrated that game devs don't just deal with balance. Their goal isn't to balance things. The goal is to make the game fun. So a lot of changes are made to try and make the game more fun necessarily, rather than to try and achieve perfect balance. And they've made those changes too, rather than just like nerfing problematic cards. Each change is being to try to make the game more fun in general.
All right, so closing thoughts. Either of you have any closing thoughts before we kind of end this?
More of an announcement just for anyone that's around. Charmer and I will be doing a co-stream tonight together. We'll be co-streaming the Bethesda showcase, so we'll get to kind of react and talk about the announcements live. So if anyone is around at midnight Eastern, we'd love to see you guys tonight.
Definitely. Link any announcements or closing statements?
Nah, I'm good.
All right,
I can always plug my stream here, but
I can plug both.
That's sort of sell out. Lateralus didn't, but
no,
sell out.
No, please go sell out. Sell out, do it. Guys,
I'm TourqouiseLink on Twitch, so you can always come and watch my stream.
Please.
And I'll let Lateralus do the same thing.
There, I'll post it in the chat.
That's what we like to see. There we go. Guys, follow both these guys, both excellent players. great analysis on their plays. So definitely, if you haven't followed them yet, please do. And thank you all for joining me. This was a lot of fun to do.